we're going to go ahead and start our meeting. All right, so Mr. Carter is not here. He's on business, so as the vice chairman, I'll be leading the meeting today. So I'll call this meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Our flag is outside, so and recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so first on our agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes for the regular meeting, February 26, 2019. Did everyone get a chance to review Catherine's email minutes? Any questions, comments?
Motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from February 6, 2019.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
We also have the minutes for the executive session of the February 26, 2019 meeting.
Motion to approve the executive session minutes from February 26th as submitted.
Second.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We also have that called meeting, so we have minutes from the March 11th called meeting. Did you get a chance to review those? Any questions?
Motion to approve the minutes from call meeting on March 11th as submitted.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And lastly, there was also an executive session for that called meeting on March 11th.
Motion to approve the minutes from the executive session call meeting on March 11th as submitted.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Good. All meeting minutes have been approved. Moving on our agenda, we got the chairman's report. The only thing for this section would be that this morning, I just want to disclose this morning that Robert, Brian, and I and Catherine met with someone who's looking to possibly bring in WeWork. Just throwing out the idea of them coming to see where that lands, but right now there's nothing specific on it. Number 4 on our agenda is our financial report. Brian?
Okay. Financial report, if you'll turn to the first page of the worksheets. With our operating account, we've got an ending balance of $175,000 and $800 and change. Go 3 pages back, you'll see the debt service. Right now, we've got a total of $78,390 and change in our debt service account. Last account is the rent escrow. There was actually a mistake made that they pulled all of, when they funded the, I guess what was it, funded the bond refinancing, that they pulled all of the balance out of it, so they're going to be moving money back over and refunding that account. So if you notice that it's zeroed out, well, and in fact with the $50 service charge on it, there's a reason. So that's what's going on, nothing beyond that. So that's where we're at with the financials this month. Any questions?
Thank you, Brian. Before we move on, it occurs to me that there's something missing from our agenda that Catherine and I talked about that we probably need to amend the agenda since it's not on here. The town center with 7 Oaks is not listed here, so if we could get a motion to add that to new business.
Motion to add the town center presentation.
It's not a presentation, it would be
The approval.
of the incentive.
Motion to add the approval of the incentive for the town center.
New business.
Second.
All those in favor of adding that to the agenda?
Aye.
Thank you, sorry about that. All right, moving on, branding committee, just to give you a quick update, we've put that on hold over the last couple of months. Greg Abel reached out to me last week to find out if we were all reappointed, and he will come to us next month with his full presentation for us to discuss. So nothing new on Brandon right now. Moving on, old business, Peachtree Station valuation. Do you want to tee us up?
Yeah, so as of this morning, where we thought we were on the situation was the fact that DeKalb County wasn't allowing Seraphim or Peachtree Station Holdings to appeal because they're not the owners, we are. So where we got to this morning, we were saying, okay, well, we'll give them permission on our behalf to appeal to the county. I talked with Tricia, Truckett here today, but in Simon,
Yes.
they're going to Seraphim to answer your questions. Essentially, that's not the case, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Could you repeat that? I couldn't hear.
You got the names, Tricia, Truckett, and Simon. I was mistaken in thinking that Tricia clarified that the county doesn't do appeals on any property that's 100% abated. Does that sound right? And so it's on the DDA's purview to set the amount.
I don't think that's technically correct, but that's not what they're not going to do with it.
As the property owner, Dan, are we allowed to go appeal? I mean, what, I'm not sure.
Let me explain. It's not a normal situation because our property is on the exempt benefits to the tax billings. The assessors do keep a valuation for everything because it's later to become taxable again. I'm not, of course, when I was a public body, normally need to appeal an assessment, but sometimes it happens when there is a lease. And I know for a fact it's happened a lot in Henry County. And our leases are not taxable because of the types of abatements that we give us, so we make them non-taxable. I don't know why that stand in the way, though, of an appeal if we wanted to do it. And it's just coming from, who's this coming from? The assessor's office?
Yeah, well, Tricia, you said it was when you guys talked to DeKalb County. They said that they.
Well, if she'd like to come up and brief
Yeah,
us
why
on her understanding.
One, if you could come up and that way we can get you on
Explain.
the record, tell us your name and tell us what information you know about what's sworn from the tax assessor's office. That's
Simon Bloom. Yeah, I like it. Okay, I'm Simon Bloom. I represent Peachtree Station, and I'm joined by Tricia Trecca, who is the asset manager for Peachtree Station. And let me try and take the last piece first. So we've been in communication with the county, and particularly with the county assessor's office, in an effort to try to get them to issue a notice of assessment that we could then appeal. They refused to issue the notice of assessment that we could then appeal.
Well, that honestly makes sense
because it's an exempt, tax exempt property, which is not crazy. Respectfully, I think this is somewhat of a red herring because the way I interpret, forget the way I interpret, what the MOU says with the authority is that the tax assessed value of the property doesn't necessarily drive the valuation that the company returns every year. The company's responsibility is to provide the authority with the valuation. We say, with support, comps, or whatever is used to drive the valuation, we submit a valuation and say it's worth X, take 40% of X, that's the assessed value, you apply the millage rate that would be applied by DeKalb County, and the taxes would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the process that's laid out in the MOU. So our position is...
However, that is subject to the acceptance of DDA.
Correct.
But you submit that valuation and then we say, yes, we'll accept that.
That is correct. Or no, we think it's high, low, wrong, right, whatever. That starts the discourse.
We're going to do that regardless of what the county sets the valuation at.
That's what we submit is what is called for by the MOU. That process is supposed to take place every year.
Why are you concerned then with what the county
We're not. That's why I said this is a red herring about what the county thinks the property is worth. It just doesn't matter what the county thinks it's worth.
Yes, ma'am.
There seems to be a difference of opinion between the DDA members on the one hand and the property owner on the other as to what the value is. And the way the document is written, the DDA has substantial rights to deal with the valuation. There's a couple of things that we need to consider. First is that the abatement's not going to last forever, and it wouldn't do properly unless everybody went into it with their eyes open for there to have been a universe of special valuation that is wildly inconsistent with what the assessors think the value is. Because when it comes out of the abatement, you have an instant stress situation probably with the assessors. So one way to deal with this, to deal with the future event, and also to deal with the present situation with the difference of value, is to go through the process with the county, where the county has a valuation and the property owner disputes that, and everybody agrees that's what we want to do, to be bound by whatever the result of the appeal is. So I'm not saying that's the only way to do it, or necessarily even that's the best way to do it, but that is a way to do it. And it's a glitch that the assessors don't seem to want to play. But I can talk to somebody over there and see if they can accommodate.
Before we get to that point, I'm curious. So I think I know the answer to this, but I'd like to hear it from y'all. The property taxes are abated. Y'all have leases with your tenants that are triple net lease, so you're passing along those taxes to them.
Correct.
So why are you concerned about valuation when you're not paying the taxes to begin with?
There are two reasons. Number one, the burn off of the abatement is based upon the would-be due taxes per year. So there's roughly $7.5 million worth of abatement.
That's right.
And if there is a higher value, there's more taxes. If there's more taxes, you're burning off the abatement faster. And one thing to point out about that, and you all may already know this, is that at the end of the abatement period, you have the flip determination, where then the property lessee has the right to buy, has that purchase option to buy the property. You really have to transfer it back for $10 and pay it whatever it rates to. So, with respect, I think that there should not be a concern with any gap in the value that we arrive at, authority and company, and what the county thinks the property is worth X years down the road, because that'll end up becoming our problem. Because the authority will never have to pay taxes on the property. It'll be the property owner's issue to deal with the county. That's number one. But the other important part is, on these triple net leases, our tenants are paying the would-be pro rata share of the taxes to us, even though we're not paying taxes, because we have to pay the seller those tax amounts. It is to reimburse I call it the seller, the Collins entity, the Collins company.
So you're not getting it, it's
going right to them. And that's part of the deal that we had with Collins, the seller, because at the time there was nobody knew what taxes would be.
So again, that doesn't affect you, that just
Well, it does
to them.
It does to the extent that our tenants are red-faced mad that the taxes are so high.
But they went into it knowing that they had triple net leases and that their taxes would go up as the valuation of the property.
Sure, within reason. And they also have a right in their leases to contest.
So then, why do you care what the county, why didn't you go to the county then to appeal that? If you knew the MOU said that at least we're going to agree upon some valuation and you're going to use our agreed upon valuation to go to the tenants with their taxes, why go to the county to begin with? Why did you do that?
I think it was a mistake to have done that, to be honest with you. Because I don't think that the county has a dog in the fight at all. And you have no obligation to honor what the county says the property is worth at all. And I'm being honest with you.
You're not concerned with what Mr. McRae was saying, that if we set a valuation different from what the county is saying it's valued at, then when the abatement comes to the end, all of a sudden the county's going to say it's way up here, and we've been setting it down here, and you're going to have this huge jump at the end, right?
Where your tenants are going to have a huge jump at the end if they're paying triple net.
And that will be our problem. That will be our problem. It's just like, the equivalent would be, is if we just had a side deal on what you were going to pay if you rented my house, and whatever the county says my house is worth, it doesn't matter to you, because we have a side deal. You're going to pay me $500 a year, period. It doesn't matter what the value of my house does. We're going to have our deal. And even if you have an option to buy my house at the end, you watch the assessment, you can see what's assessed for.
Dan, I have a question.
Okay.
Is the abatement that essentially, the tenants are paying essentially this profit that gets sent back to the seller, right? That's how they're.
SJ Collins kept the bonds, so those taxes are not going to them, it's going to the developer. Because y'all didn't buy the bonds when you bought the property.
Correct. We collect the taxes and send them
To the seller. Over like a 5-year period, is that not correct?
over the period of the abatement.
During the whole abatement, not just
Until the second.
Do they use this for whatever?
So I'm assuming that this all came up because your tenants got really mad when we gave them their new rent rates.
Yes.
And it was dramatically higher, and they said, because you used the valuation that the county came up with.
That is correct.
One of the things that you said was that when you were buying the property, you didn't know what the county assessor rate was. You couldn't figure that out. And yet, if you're buying a property for $67 million, you couldn't make a pretty good faith assumption that the county would assess it as $67 million? Because
Or close to that.
Or close to it. I mean, there's a market transaction that says, we think this property is worth $67 million.
I wasn't there. Is that a rhetorical question or is that a rhetorical question?
So I mean,
So do they think they overpaid?
well, I mean, is the answer here to get a third party appraisal every year and use that as a benchmark? I mean, what's,
I think that all you're asking for is some type of means to appeal, whatever it may be. Is that what I'm hearing?
You know what we're really asking for, well, it may be yes to your answer, not your question, but let me elaborate. What we're really asking for is that we honor and adhere strictly to the MOU, which says every year the company shall submit the fair market value, assessed value, and would-be taxes to the authority. That's what I'm asking the authority simply to do. And if we don't agree on what that value is, then that's just a completely different conversation.
So why have you submitted that already?
Yes.
And we didn't accept it?
No, we haven't voted.
You haven't moved on it yet.
Okay.
There's been discussion a couple of DDA meetings about it. There's like I'm speaking for maybe a $20 million difference in figures, which is not insubstantial.
it's 40-something or 60-something there?
Yep.
Well, I think it probably needs to come somewhere in the middle. I hear your pain.
Don't say that.
And I hear your pain. I'm not saying what the value should be. I think at this point, it'd probably be best for our chairman to work with Dan to figure out how we resolve this. I don't think we should be making any decisions tonight. I don't want to vote on anything like this tonight. So if it's all right.
I'm wondering, I mean, is it the case where we do need to get a third-party appraisal for this year? Maybe that's not something that.
Going back to what Catherine said a minute ago about the appraisals, if it comes back to us, one way to do it is for this group to sit together and like a jury, and they make decisions for whatever reason they make decisions and decide what it is. Another way to resolve that is to go through a process with the assessor's office if they're willing to cooperate and have that done by people whose business it is to assess property. And they've already assessed the property, so we're really talking about appeal.
What was the county's assessed value?
67.
And I believe
It was 67.
We got a copy of the copy of So, and there are perhaps technical reasons where that might pay off for the government, maybe not. But if we don't do number one, which is the jury says, and number two, which is the assessor's process determines, then there has to be a third way to do it. And that doesn't necessarily have to be with the property owner's consent. I mean, we could get an appraiser to come appraise for our own information, whatever weight we give that appraisal. The time is coming when we're going to have to make a decision because we've had a submittal and we either accept it or reject it. If we reject it, we have to come back with something. If we come back with something, we have to have a reason.
I agree with all that. My only request of the authority would be to not to punt it to the DeKalb County tax assessors. That's my only request. It is an option. They're not going to do it. You may have connections to the county that I don't know about then, but they've told me time and time again, they don't have a dog in the fight. They're not going to wade into the battle. Because think of how that works. They assess it high, we appeal it, BOV, special master, they don't bring it down low enough, we appeal to Superior Court. Why would they take on that headache to do the authority a favor? I mean, that's just me editorializing more than anything else, but it's what I've heard from the assessor's office.
So if we do option one, where we sit around and figure out what we think the value is, because you guys submitted your comps, your DCF, all your assumptions, have you guys provided that to us so we can review it?
I think at this point, all they've done is submit a piece of paper saying.
They did submit some comps.
Did that.
Yeah, it's more extensive than just a piece of paper, and I don't know if, you know how deep, as far as.
Just listed some comps and some of what they thought was the income approach in order to get to, there's a fair and equitable tax rate criteria as well for tax valuations. And so what we don't want to see is our tenants be paying nearly $11 a foot at the property and tenants across the street being paying more of a market $5 per square foot for taxes and start to see it really hurting financial wherewithal of our tenants.
So I think we'll need to understand what those assumptions are that are going into their valuations so that we can come back and say, yeah, that's the right approach, that's the way we should be looking at this, or no, we don't agree with that, and here's what the market is, and we can make a decision if that's the route we're going to go. If we're going to deliberate internal versus getting a third party appraisal. It might be both.
Dan, any thoughts?
I don't understand. When I'm involved in a deal, I don't understand something that concerns me. And I don't understand why it doesn't matter that there would be a sudden jump in value in the later period. If it matters.
If it matters today, it's going to matter then.
I don't understand.
Because by then, the abatement will have ended. It'll turn it off. And
You're still going to have that jump in your tenants. You're still going to experience sticker shock of going from a smaller per square foot.
That assumes that in the future,
Theoretically.
The whole meantime, it allows the abatement to
Run its course.
run its course in the area of
I'm just a lawyer. But this amounts to kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
You've got to think what happens when you get to the can again.
They're not going to own the can at the flip determination
But we
time.
still have to be concerned about what's going to happen in the kind of business.
That's the reason it makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
It's going to be our problem.
What,
100% our problem.
do y'all have a specific time frame that you have to meet with your tenants, or, because I don't, like I said, I don't want to make this decision tonight. We're just hearing from y'all for the first time. We haven't seen the comps that Catherine has, and I'm not sure that we won't do some kind of third-party appraisal or commission and have someone actually appraise it. So
Got
we
that
know.
information, making decisions, so.
So what I'd like to do is to use Dan's phrase, kick the can for next month and use the next 30 days to figure out how we can, what path we should take. Does that sound reasonable to everyone here, or is there
Yeah.
a reason why y'all want to
I think that's very.
go into it tonight?
I just don't know, is there a timeline that we're supposed to meet under agreement? I mean, this is something that the assessment will come out last year, and we're having a conversation about it almost a year later, so.
There's a deadline for an annual report that hasn't been met. And I guess in order to prepare a proper annual report, they need to know what the credits were that have been consumed, which is a function of the value. So there's not a specific deadline, but the ball's in, to continue with our analogy, the ball's in our court. But I don't see any reason that the court couldn't take 30 days.
Let's do that. And Catherine, if you and David
I mean, ideally, it sounds like what we should do is debate or review the materials individually over the next week or whatever we need to have a conversation to see. I mean, again, can we do this informally?
Well, we need to decide what we're going to do and what the process is going to be, because if we need to bring in third-party appraisal, that's not going to happen in a day.
Well, and that's my point. What I don't want to have happen is we talk about it in the next 30 days, then don't make a decision till the next meeting, and the decision at the next meeting is to give an appraiser. If there's some way that we can shorten that process so that we internally can make a decision to see whether or not we have adequate information to make a decision at the next meeting, or if we don't and need to hire the appraisal in order to have that at the next meeting so we can make a decision.
Well, Catherine, you have the information that we're asking.
why don't you go ahead and send that to us?
What do you think about the efficacy of that information? Do you think that that's going to be enough for us to go on, or do you think that an appraisal is going to be necessary?
I think we've been doing some of our own research on our end for companies.
I agree.
Okay. And so we probably won't need that.
Well, I wouldn't say that either, but I think we need a lot more information. My point is just that if we're going to bring in an appraiser, it's not going to happen.
Oh, no, it is. Or be free. Or be free, no, I understand.
So, but we want to be sure that we have this all done by the next meeting so we can make a decision.
That would be the goal. Understand, that's what I was saying, Catherine, if you could spend the next week sending us the information, getting with David and Dan, trying to come up with what path we should take so that we can not have to waste time waiting for 30 days. And then if a special call thing has to happen, we can always do that if we can do stuff without, or do we need a motion to have our chairman?
What you could do tonight is authorize the chair, after receiving input from the board members, to decide whether or not to get in place.
All right, can you make that motion?
So,
Did you get that?
The motion is to authorize the chair to,
Accept input from the board.
and then decide whether or
Decide.
not.
Just make a decision whether we're going to place it, and then we can decide if we place it. Unless the county wants to volunteer.
Wesley made the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of that?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you so much for
Can I make a
listening.
request that if you think it went into evaluation, we can get those assumptions for next time we're looking at, both DCF and COPS?
Why don't, if you've got questions, if the authority members have questions, to funnel them back through Catherine and funnel back through me, then I can pull together whatever it is. You may think that there's everything in the world you need in there, but you may have specific questions. Yeah, sure, you can consolidate and send them our way. I don't. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. All right, next on old business was the trackside annual report,
Yes, so
which
that's,
is in your packet. It's the last page of the packet. Now, if you remember, one of the things in the trackside deal was we wanted them to provide a certain number of jobs. And so in this letter from them, they're indicating the number of employees, both with It's on front and back, so the pillar is on the back of the number there.
Total 141, which is greater than 50 jobs. Our goal was.
50 is the goal.
For the first year, yeah.
What was for the second year? Oh, I'm sorry. You didn't pull that.
But it was like 75.
Okay. So they're already well over.
The next couple.
Dan, with this annual report, do we have to make a motion to accept the findings in this annual report that they're saying they've met our requirement for the number of jobs we wanted?
It's not formally necessary. The requirement is to make the report, and then if there's a shortfall, make payments. But if they're in compliance and we don't feel we need to audit that we have overruns, then we can simply accept it.
You don't
See
need-
it, or we can have a motion to accept it, it doesn't matter.
Let's have a motion to accept. Yeah.
Okay, motion to formally accept the annual report from the track side.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, track side. All right, on to item number 7, new business, election of officers. I want to thank council for reappointing the 5 of us that were up for reappointment to those council members in the room. Thank you, we appreciate that.
And I want to thank them too. Thank you, council.
We're ready to do more business, so we do need to, every March we elect our officers. I motion that we keep David Carter as our chairman. I know he's not here to dispute it. Do they have a second? All those in favor of David Carter being the chairman?
Aye.
We need to nominate a vice chairman, a treasurer, and a secretary.
I move to keep the officers that we have now for this next year.
Second.
All those in favor of the same officers? Aye. All right, everyone's still in business. Item number 7B, Chamblee Chamber of Commerce State of the City sponsorship.
So this is,
Dan, did you want to, or did we do the agenda?
We did, it's coming next. Is that okay?
Sure.
We were going to put it the last thing after.
yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so this is just the same as last year. We sponsored the chamber, the state of the city, so it would be the same amount we have it budgeted.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have,
What is the date again?
it's
April.
April.
Table and
April 19th? No, April 26th.
26.
David will be able to say something.
It's near the end of April.
It's April 26th, I believe.
Do we need to make a motion? I thought that was just a budgetary item. It's in our budget. There's no reason we approved the budget, so I don't see any reason to make a motion for it, right?
Let's do general consensus.
Okay, general consensus. Thanks.
See, it's the
Specific
26th.
consensus.
It is on a Thursday, I think.
So it's the 26th.
25th?
It's still at the Marriott, or they moved it?
It's in the Marriott.
All right, the last new business item is the incentive package for the town center with Seven Oaks. I think we've debated this enough. I think David has talked with each one of y'all individually. The consensus was to, the recommendation for 100% abatement for 15 years with a 10% administrative payment. And we would there's still some conditions that need to be worked out. So what I'd like to do is get someone to make a motion for that recommended amount, and with the pending the chairman working out with the developer and Dan McCray those additional conditions in the MOU. That way we don't have to sit there and debate every single fine little point. We're just approving tonight the general incentive package. Does that work for everyone?
Yes, motion to approve the general incentive package. What was the amount?
The 100% abatement
100%
for
abatement.
15 years with a 10% administrative payment.
100% abatement for 15 years with a 10% administrative payment.
Dan has some comments.
The campus agenda items are good, so there's a clause after that that says pending agreement between the chair and developer on the conditions listed in the MOU.
Yes, that needs to be in the motion.
Pending the agreement with the chair.
Between the chair and the developer.
I have it written down.
Thank you.
Okay,
Want me to read it?
right here.
Okay. Pending agreement between the chair and developer on the conditions listed in the MOU.
Does that work for everyone? Do we have a second? Brian, second. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, Seven Oaks. Go do some work.
Decided to get moved. So when are they submitting the?
All right,
Other day in a row.
last on our regular meeting agenda is public comments. Do you have anyone in the public who would like to make comments? Any public comments? No? I believe we do need to go into executive session to discuss real estate. Can someone make a motion?
Motion to go into executive session to discuss real estate matter.
Second?
All those in favor? Thank you. Back from executive session, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, enjoy your evening. Thank you.
Don't forget to send the.
4 more years.
Oh,